Hello, everyone. I am so delighted to welcome you to our show, Caring for Your Pet. And this is where you can learn more about how to simply, easily, and compassionately keep your pet healthy and happy. My name is Berns Galang or Berns Berry, your host for the show. Now, if you love animals and if you enjoy seeing them depicted in art or in published literature, then this is for you. Because in our lives, animals have already been there, just in our homes, in the outdoors, and just it's just really fitting that they would find their way into literature such as children's books. And so today we're going to be talking about exactly just that. And here with us right now is our guest, Sarah McCall, also known through her alter ego, Granny Mac. Now, let me tell you a little something about Granny Mac. She's an international author and speaker, and she's also the managing director of Saddlebank Publishing. She lives in beautiful rural New Zealand with her husband and, of course, their adventurous cat, Sofia. She is also a courage coach, and her mission is to equip you to handle fear in a way that's empowering. And she used her skills to write a children's book called Cecil Gets a Haircut. And it's a charming tale about a little lamb who faced fear and got better in handling it. And so, for sure, there's really more to come for Cecil and the other animals in the farm. And everyone, without further ado, let's all learn from Granny Mac or Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Berns Berry. How are you?
Doing good. So glad to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate the opportunity.
It's an honor. And Sarah, can you share with us your journey and how you became an author and a speaker?
Oh, I loved stories when I was little. I loved being able to be transported to far off lands and magical adventures. And, perhaps there was an adventure in town or an adventure in the woods. I used to read a lot of Enid Blyton and Arthur Ransom. So there were always lots of stories and lots of different things that were happening, and Brian Jakes as the children were growing, and just so many adventures, and my mind just explodes. When I was a truck driver, I had these wild imaginings about, what would the sheep say to the shearer, or what would the dog be actually saying to the sheep beyond what we could understand as ruff, ruff.
All right. I thought there was a dog there. Really. I thought there was a real dog in the background. And yeah, it looks like you're really creative and very, I like how animated you are. And I'm curious, what value and influence do you see in having animals in children's literature?
I think it's because having animals, it just creates that distance, that if it was a little boy or a little girl or a gender neutral person, that may not happen. But when it's with an animal, then the walls that we put around as self-protection, they get lowered, and you start relating with them because they're cute, they're fluffy. I mean, what's more adorable than a little lamb,
Wonderful. And how do you get the ideas in utilizing animals for your written work?
Well, when I was driving the truck, I had a lot of time to think, and I was on farm an awful lot. And one day I was in the shed with the boys in the wool shed, and I was moving all these bales of wool. And I got to thinking about what an incredible story it would be to tell people about the story of the shearing shed and all the different dynamics that go into it, and how it's one part of a much bigger story. And that's the story of wool and the story of farming and the story of family. And so there's all these different stories that come out of this one perspective. And I sort of thought, do the sheep actually recognize themselves? Do they recognize their friends when they get out of the shearing shed? Are they looking around thinking, well, this is weird. I'm not fluffy anymore. Where's Joe? Where's Bob? Where's Bill? And so, my imagination took flight.
Yeah, so sounds like you have worlds in your head, and yeah, I guess writers are really like that. They really have like an idea generator. It just
I ask a lot of questions. I'm very curious about the world around us too. So I'm never short of an idea or two.
yeah, I guess it just goes hand in hand. I mean, curiosity and inquisitiveness really goes with, building and expanding your imagination.
Mm.
I guess it's just the natural way of how it comes about.
And
And
pen and paper are always good to have around, or, now more so the laptop, but definitely good old pen and paper. Things don't get lost as easily with pen and paper.
yeah, especially if you have lots of ideas. Do you how much time do you spend in writing all of those?
Oh, goodness. I can lose myself for days. And it's only when my sweet man comes and says, "Oi, come on, it's time to move." And I get up and I realize that I've been sitting there for quite some time and I'm very stiff and sore. So we have come up with an idea that after 2 hours in the office, I need to be outside doing something. Usually by then I've been able to finish at the beginning of a story. So when I come back, at the beginning of an idea. So when I come back to what I'm doing, I'm coming in and I'm sitting at the beginning of an idea and it's, oh yes, that's right. And away I go again.
Wonderful. And speaking of ideas, just want to go a little specific. And about the little lamb in your story, how can a lamb reveal the message about having courage in like, for example, in your book, Cecil gets a haircut.
Well, I think it's the cuteness factor that helps a lot. I think that helps a lot. And I think that providing that distance, you get the opportunity for the barriers to come down, for the distance to be created, but for identification with the emotion that Cecil's feeling. And so we talk about the language of being afraid and beginning to panic and what it feels to have that volcano growing in your tummy and feeling uncertain, and exploring those really big ideas and giving name to those feelings that everybody faces. And so you stop feeling silly for having those big feelings and big emotions, and that, that antsy feeling, or that antsy feeling that something's just not quite right. And you just really don't know what it is, but something just doesn't feel right. And so recognizing that that's something that everybody faces, or most people have, that's kind of cool when you recognize that you've got something that everybody else shares. And so that being able to discuss it through a cute lamb, it's not as personal as talking about it as a person, a human being.
Right. And then what about Cecil's friends? And I believe there's also a sheepdog in your story, because it takes place in the farm, and there's a hunt away there in your written work. So does he also represent like a theme or a symbol?
So Roxy's Best Day Ever is the next story coming out in the Cecil series. And a huntaway is a New Zealand sheepdog bred for New Zealand conditions. So they have very long legs, very big feet, and a very big voice. And they climb up the mountainside, and they're incredible animals, absolutely incredible animals. And they've got boundless energy, some of them more than others. And after I'd written the story of Cecil, I was already thinking about the next book, and the next book was Roxy's Best Day Ever. And in this story, Roxy's got boundless energy. And if I can just show you this picture of Roxy as a puppy, and let me see if I can do this. Oh, the wonders of technology. The wonders of technology. Here we go. This is Roxy as a puppy. Look at the size of those feet. They're huge.
Oh, so cute. That's a huntaway puppy.
Yeah, so they're this black and tan color, and they have a big voice. They're very, very intelligent. They have enormous energy, and they have quite long legs. So, up in the high country, of course, you're dealing with snow. And we have the most amazing story also about Wrinkly Merino. oh no, Shrek the sheep. I think we've got a story written in Glenorchy about a sheep that had managed to evade the muster for years and was so woolly, had, you know, many kilos of wool on him. And so there was an epic story that the children of Glenorchy got into, and they wrote the story and they illustrated themselves, and there were photographs taken from the various places, and it made for this epic journey. And so with each book, a little piece of Shrek's fleece was sold with each book, and it was something that was able to connect town and country, you know. So it was pretty epic. But anyway, to get back to the question, which was how about Cecil's friends?
Yeah, I mean, like Roxy, Roxy also represent a theme.
So she will be the story of one of probably a mixture of my three boys. One in particular had boundless energy, and he would often be vibrating. He had so much energy. And much like the puppy that I just showed you, she too was vibrating with energy and often had to get the energy out so that they could sit and listen. And so this is where Roxy's best day ever came up. You know, Roxy has boundless energy and she made heaps of mistakes. But that's a story for another day.
Uh-huh. Well, then, yeah, it's interesting how animals can also represent some parts of the human aspect. And my next question has something to do with a little bit of contrast. You've mentioned something about this earlier, but I'd like to go a bit deeper. And yeah, it's well, it's really because animals can't really communicate like humans. So, and yeah, but they have been used in stories and in art. But how can animals bring meaning to a book like no human character can do?
I think bringing down the barriers is really helpful, and looking at a very human problem in animal form. So that's anthropomorphication. It's a huge word. It feels really good in your mouth, but it means that an animal takes on human characteristics and also has animal characteristics. So if you think about Prince Caspian, for example, and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and you have animals that have got human qualities, and they convey a story with this mixture of animal quality and human quality, and they do it in such a way that I don't know how a human character would be able to do it. You know, when you look at Aslan and he roars, you know, everybody listens and everybody knows that the lion is the king of the forest. You know, if the lion roars, you be quiet and you listen.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that a human character could get away with that, you know, because then they'd be looked at more like a dictator. So
Yeah,
it's a really interesting question that you've asked. And it really needs some thinking about to be able to answer it in depth.
Yeah, because I've also noticed that, like, not just in stories and in art, because in real life, animals really are different and they communicate much differently compared to how humans do. And yeah, and some of us, especially pet owners who really have deep relationships and connections with their pets, sometimes pets can really connect with us in a way that no other human can, because yeah, we really can develop that special bond that's just between, like, a person and a cat, or a person and a dog. And yeah, and it's very different for every person and with every animal as well.
Yes. You think about the animals that are the dogs that are sniffer dogs. You know, some dogs are able to sniff out, they're medical dogs, and they're able to sense when a person is about to have a seizure. Our dog was able to do that for us. You know, when, you know, our dog could always tell when I was going to fall over. I had a nerve that was pushing on part of my neck, and so it meant that my right side would go completely weak and I would literally fall over. And he always knew before I did. Now, I don't know how he did it, but he would always stand in front of me and encourage me to go and sit down. And the times that I didn't listen to him, I would end up with, you know, bruises and things that weren't very comfortable. But he was amazing. Other dogs, they're used at the border for food or for drugs or for cigarettes. You know, there's lots of different ways that we know that dogs are used. They're used also for survivors of PTSD to help them become very present in the time, or if they are having a meltdown, if they are suddenly swamped by a flashback, the dog is able to help them redirect and bring them back into the present moment and not be lost in the vividness of that memory. And that's triggered by a sound or a smell or something, you know, maybe a flash of a memory might just, you know, send them straight back. You know, we saw people when they come back from the war and their nerves were shot, or people who've been traumatized, you know, for whatever reason. But, you know, there's lots and lots of ways that animals can help us, and they're really amazing.
Very much indeed. And sometimes they really can be better than us at times, and they really know better.
They have enormous patience, I'll give them that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I could be as patient as
very much.
Yeah.
Yes, and I like what you said. I like what you said, that being in the present moment, being in the now, because it's really what they're about. They're really just having fun almost all the time. They just really want to spend so much time with you and just make it the best time ever with you, just love you and play with you and just be with you. And there's really so much to learn from that. I mean, just giving so much importance in that moment, that present moment. And yeah, it's one of the best things.
Show a dog a ball. Oh, ball, best day ever. You know, pick up your keys for the car. Oh, car, best day ever. You know, their enthusiasm for life is contagious. You know, and then there's the cats, the regal. You know, hello, slaves. Feed me. I'm here. Feed me.
You're so right on. Yeah, dogs and cats are like that. Yeah. It's like with dogs particularly, they really display that level of gusto and enthusiasm. I mean, they really just give 100% in, you know, just to catch whatever toy that you give them. And yeah, it's really very inspiring. And yeah, that sometimes I really want to be just like them, because I think I can be a better person if I imitate them, like just giving 100% with all that enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Wonderful. They're so wonderful, and so much to be grateful for them. And but as an author and a speaker, I believe you also get invited to a lot of story reading time with children.
Yes.
How do you feel when you get to read your stories to children?
Best day ever. I
love that word.
I love reading stories to the children. I really do. I love reading. I love putting voices on. So with Brian Jakes, he has a lot of stories about animals, and so I would read the stories and the different accents from the different places in England, which is where this author is from. And so you'd have a mole, get out and away, you know, and you'd have Tadpole, old chap, well, I say, you know, that's, you know, spit spot, come along, you know. And so then the children being able to go and do that and take on these different persons, you know, well, I say, that's not cricket, you know, and doing those sorts of things. It's just so much fun because it brings the story alive. So it doesn't matter what I'm reading, whether it's my stories or other stories, authors from New Zealand. There's a lot of great authors in New Zealand, or somebody overseas. It's just a real special time to sit down and explore an incredible world, you know, with children. It's best day ever.
Sounds like it's pure awesome fun. I almost want to join your events if you have story reading times and join the children. Granny Mac, read the stories.
I frequently do get that. Granny Mac, story time. Let's just go and weed the garden first, shall we? Oh, Granny Mac, come and have a look. Let's see. We'll go and see how many bugs we can find in the garden. Oh gosh, yeah, that's right. Get your fingers in there. Ha ha, they're weeding. Yes, epic win.
Yeah, and interesting how you deliver that and you act that, especially if the characters are animals. Do they really react to that more or respond to that more?
I think so. I think that you can read a story very matter of fact and not put any emotion into it, and it becomes very dry and very dull. Or you can be so animated, as I am quite animated when I'm reading stories and asking questions and what's going to happen next? What do you think? And get them involved in the story, and their imaginations are engaging, and different questions come up and different feelings come up, and so we get to explore those, and I get lots of ideas for other storybooks.
Wonderful. And speaking of being animated, you have an adventurous cat, Sofia, and I'd like to know more about her. Will she also be a part of your stories or your writing?
Oh, Queen Sofia.
Of course.
Queen Sofia, queen of all she surveys. She is very adventurous. She loves cheese, I found out the other day. She wolfs it down, my goodness.
Oh.
So I had to get her out of that pretty quickly, and I got growled at. Leave me alone, I like this cheese. She demands a whole series all of her own, and I'll share a photograph of Queen Sofia. Right. Yes, Queen Sofia, queen of all she surveys. Don't mess with me, or I will claw you. She goes on lots of adventures with us. She goes for big walks with us. Sometimes it's 2.5 k's, and she'll lie down on the road and she'll be puffed and panting and sore and tired because she doesn't do it every day, and you go to pick her up and she's like, get lost, I'm walking. Whereas the dog would probably just he's like, oh yeah, come on, let's go, it's the best day ever.
Yeah, I like the contrast there and how different they are when it comes to behavior and their attitudes. And yeah, that's really one of the most distinguishing features or characteristics from dogs and cats.
Very much so. Dog will come and slobber all over you and breathe heavily and tongue hanging out, trying to cool down, and you throw them in the bath and they think it's the best thing ever. Whereas the cat's like, oh heck no, forget it. No, claws out, clawing the legs. It's like, okay, you don't want to go in the bath, that's fine. And then you go and have a cool shower yourself, and what does the cat do? She jumps in with you. I just offered you your own bath. Can you go and have your own bath? I don't really want you in the shower with me. Anyway, animals. They are a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'm having fun listening to you. I love this conversation, and I like how you describe your animals and dogs and cats. And from your perspective, as an author and as a creative, how can pet owners be the key to their pets' happiness and welfare?
The same as everybody else can. They're the inspiration to a lot of my stories, and there are more yet to be illustrated and more yet to come out. And the universe is boundless when it comes to stories and tales, and it's not just about Sofia, it's not just about Cecil and his friends, but there's also the stories about how the cat, expects you to know that at 2 o'clock in the morning, she's going to want to get out to the toilet. And if you don't listen, then your wallpaper is going to be clawed. So we can be key to their happiness and welfare by recognizing that they actually need to be put out at night before you go to bed. And that way your walls stay safe, even if they're unhappy with that. They need the same that humans need. They need food, they need water, they need shelter, they need love, they need affection, they need firm boundaries. Sophia started out and she was feral, utterly feral when she came.
Oh.
She clawed the walls. There are a number of walls around our home which have big claw marks, and the wallpaper has been torn. So how can we be key to her happiness and welfare? Well, for a kickoff, we don't smack her, we don't hit her, but by Jove, she gets soaked with a water hose. It's a wee spray bottle that goes across the room, and so she gets squirted. And she's just wanting to go outside. So we need to have that conversation, Now listen here, Missy. There's a window right there. Why couldn't you go out the window? But no, she's been trained that she goes out the back door. So it doesn't matter that the front door is wide open. She's been trained to go out the back door, because that's what we do in winter. We let her in and out through the back door. So consistency is key. Right. And respect.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. It's really, I guess it boils down to just being very mindful for them, because we're really here for our pets, and it's our responsibility to just be as sensitive as much as we can.
Sure. It's also about getting to know their language. Dogs have a different language to cats. And I'm not talking about the barking or the growling or the snarling. I'm talking about the behavior, the pack behavior.
Right.
So
exactly.
With a dog, you need to let it know that you're the boss, and they come further down in the ranking. When our dog was little, all of our children had to stand over him and stand with him between their legs. And that's pack communication, that's pack behavior, pack mentality. And he knew that he was the lowest of the pecking order. Now, if we hadn't done that, he would have done things that were detrimental to our children. He became a very big dog with a lot of power and a lot of energy and a lot of muscle. So it meant that he was able to push our children around a lot. So we had to make those rules right at the beginning. And we had to, teach them that, once I had him trained, I trained him to hand signals. And then I taught our children those hand signals, and I expected him to obey those hand signals with the children as well. And the reason for me training him first was that he knew that I was top dog and in the children. So my ex-husband also did that as well. So he learned the hand signals and that as well. And he, the dog wasn't allowed on the furniture. Simple.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
No, the cat, she's not allowed on the bench. So it's mutual respect, and it's about wise boundaries. If you're okay with your cat on the bench, that's fine, but not in our house.
Oh yeah, of course. And do you have any final thoughts, or is there anything else that you would like to leave our audience that you think is important?
Final thoughts. I think if you're not prepared to commit to an animal's lifetime, then don't bother getting them, even though they're cute as a puppy and funny as all get out. If you're not prepared to be there for your animal right through its life, then don't bother. It's not a feel-good thing. You can't just up and leave the dog and expect him to be there 10 days later when you come home. You need to make sure that you've got good care for the dog, and that you've got someone who's reliable and who is willing and able to provide that care for your animal, or that you take them to a kennel where professionals will look after them while you're away. Strong fencing for dogs, get to know your animal, and then, maybe get to know somebody else's animal too. And perhaps you can have that fun time that you would like to have with somebody else's dog. When I was growing up, we weren't allowed a dog. So I went and found somebody who had a dog, and I'd go and walk the dog every day. And that was, so that was my way of having a dog when I couldn't have a dog.
Yeah, I guess it's just really about the commitment, because it's a lifetime responsibility. I mean, just deciding to take in one a cat or a dog, or both. Yeah, and if there's it can be challenging and it can be hard at times, but yeah, like you mentioned, if there's respect and if there's love, then it wouldn't really feel so much of a challenge or a effort, because the commitment would really keep your bond intact, and that relationship and connection is really just an amazing thing that you can have with them.
Yeah. And, don't grab your, kittens can be picked up by their mother, and same with puppies. They can be picked up by the scruff of their neck, but it's not something you do to an adult dog. Don't grab by the ears. If you're not going to be like to be grabbed by the ears, then don't grab your animal by the ears. If there's a fine line between playing and then becoming more cruel. So you need to be respectful of that. Firm boundaries by all means. Lots of exercise, lots of good food, lots of love, but firm boundaries. And I think that's probably the most important thing, in balance with everything else, but definitely firm boundaries.
Yes, yeah, balance is the key as well. And for our viewers who would like to know more about what you do, and do you have can you share with us some links where people can find you?
Sure. So if you'd like to find out any more about coaching or story reading or whatever else it is that I can serve you with, my name is there on the screen, www.grannymac.co.nz. And you can go over there, you'll find video about Cecil, you'll find some more about me and about Sofia, and also some other upcoming things. If you would like to join the email list, I promise not to spam you, and I definitely not sell the email, but it would just be to, once or twice a year to keep in contact with you, or provide a free offer that maybe something might be useful to you. If you have small children and small people that you would like to connect with, there is a drawing that should come out when you provide your email, and a welcome email that come out with that as well, just to say thank you for connecting with me. And it's just a real pleasure to be able to do so.
Wonderful. That's interesting. And everyone, we'll put the links to our page and in our emails as well. So watch out for that. And thank you so much, Granny Mac, for your time. And thank you for sharing with us your stories. And thank you for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and your heart with us. So it really just goes to show how animals can really be influential in our lives. And so everyone, I hope this show has given you new insights and value as to how animals can be very much important in our lives, both in person and through literature. So we can all appreciate and understand them better that way. And once again, I wish you so much love and better connections with your pets. And I hope this really has helped you to learn how to simply, easily, and compassionately keep your pet healthy and happy. I'll see you around for updates and future events. And for now, bye for now. And thank you for being here. Thanks again, Sarah, Granny Mac.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.